big one.
Yeah, I haven't been here in a while.
Welcome back.
It's been the other George.
It's great to have you back.
Thank you. It's good to be here. This is a topic that I'm kind of excited about because it's something we deal with on a weekly basis to do with this show.
That's right. YouTube SEO, it's probably the most important it's ever been because there's now 300 hours of content uploaded to YouTube every single minute.
Yeah, didn't you tell me it's the biggest search engine on the planet?
Second biggest. Google, obviously, the biggest
Yeah,
search engine, but YouTube's the second biggest search engine. So with 300 hours of content being uploaded every minute, you really need to make sure that you're taking advantage of your SEO opportunities, making sure to correctly use all the metadata, and that'll help your content to rise to the top.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost on there with all that stuff. So we're going to give you 10 tips, probably a few more, and let's get started, yeah.
Okay, let's get right into it. First tip, titles. So making sure that you have the correct title for your video is probably the most important thing you can do. And how do you do that, George?
Well, you have to consider two things. You have to consider the YouTube search results. You want a title that's going to do well in YouTube, and you're going to want a title that's going to do well in Google. So to jump ahead to what Google likes to see, they like to see video titles like how to blah, blah, blah. And they like to see tutorial videos because they realize when people are looking for those subjects, they want to see video content. So if you have an opportunity to make your video a how-to or a tutorial or other
visual types of content, yeah,
you'll do better with Google.
Yeah, anytime someone would rather watch a video about the topic than to read a blog or something, that's when your video is going to perform higher on Google.
Yeah.
In terms of YouTube, the main tip that I would give is to make sure that you use your most relevant keyword right at the beginning of your title.
And that takes some looking around. You showed me that little trick is try out autocomplete when you're in Google, when you're in YouTube's search field, and you'll see right away what people are searching for. So if you punch in the first word that you think might be relevant, you'll see what the second and third words are going to be there. So you want to make sure you get that right and spend the time to get it right because it's sometimes we make mistakes and we go back later and we fix it.
Well, that's what's great is, you can always change your title later on. So sometimes when you come back and look at your videos 2 weeks later, you get a little bit more perspective about what that video was really about. And it becomes a little easier to maybe refine that title.
Yeah.
And the other great thing with that is if you do change your titles after the fact later on, you actually get a little bit of a recency bump.
You get a bump, eh? That's
from
nice.
YouTube.
Yeah.
So you're telling them that this is updated, and that helps.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, tip number 2. Let's keep it moving here, and that is description. So your video description. Do you want to start this one?
Yeah, this one's fairly obvious. You have a description field in every video that you put on YouTube, and you want to make sure that you use the most relevant, authentic description of your video. If you try and get cute and describe like really broad subjects that may be relevant or maybe aren't relevant, you're going to you might attract more viewers.
Yep.
But those viewers are going to come and they're going to leave immediately, and you will be punished.
Yes,
like YouTube won't
that's
like
not
that
good.
at all. So you have to be sincere and authentic here. There's no real trick to it. It's just, but also be as verbose as you can.
Yes.
The longer your description is, that's a huge
Think of it like a
opportunity.
blog post almost. You can use several hundred words in there, and that's where you get the opportunity to use all the keywords from within your video. So watch your video again, find out what those
Well,
key
you do that
topics
thing
you
in
talk
ours
about.
where you do indexing.
Yeah,
and with each index, you'll show what it gives us a perfect opportunity to stuff it full of all the relevant information.
Yeah,
that we're talking about.
after you're done your video, go back, look at the video, index your content with a timestamp, and that helps not only people to jump through your video to the parts that are most relevant to them. It might increase your watch time as well because of that. So, video description always going to be very important.
So, by the way, if you have any tips that you have found worked for you, because there's a lot of sort of a trial and error with the dark arts of Google and YouTube and finding out what works, please let us know in the chat here, and we'll add it to the conversation.
Okay, what's up next?
Don't stuff.
Don't stuff. Stuff. What is stuff?
Stuff is keywords, and there's too many of them.
Yeah, so stuffing. Stuffing is when you try to cast too wide of a net with your keywords. So maybe you're using words and phrases in your video description or in your tags for your video that are not very specific to what your video is actually about.
And too many, right? There's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Don't we talk about, what did you say, 5 to 10 or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're jumping ahead a little bit to talk about tags, but
right.
tags, generally speaking, when you're filling in the metadata of your video, whether it's the title, whether it's description, or the tags, oftentimes less is more. And really being specific about what
But I thought
the
with our
content...
description we want to be as long as we can.
Well, yes. As long you want to, with your description, being longer form content is good as long as it's relevant to what's in your video. Whereas stuffing would be if you start using terms in your description that are maybe not as relevant to what your video content is about,
Reach.
that's going to hurt you. It
Okay.
confuses the algorithm.
Sure.
Another thing to avoid is duplicates.
Yes.
And maybe you can sort of explain that one a little bit.
Well, it's similar to how, like with all SEO, whether it's for web or for video, if Google smells that you're duplicating exact content in 2 locations, you might get punished for it. And people will argue about how much they will punish you for it, but as a general best practice, you don't want to just select all, copy your description, and paste it from video to video.
It might save you time, but it's not going to help.
If nothing else, it's going to make a poor user experience for your viewers who don't really get useful information in your description. So
yeah,
it's just another...
Here on this show, we duplicate some of the material from our description. So we have things like our social media links, our website link.
Sure.
That's going to be relevant every time, but always make sure that the first 2 sentences of our description are different every single time. And just remember that those first 2 sentences of your description are what people see when they're searching for your content. So that's
it's
what
probably like
entices
the
them.
80-20 rule. Like 80% of the people will see those 2 lines and nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to get those right.
What's up next? Oh, here's an interesting one. Use closed captions. So a lot of people don't even realize that YouTube has closed captioning, but it is very important.
And it's automated.
Yes. So once
Sort of.
Yeah. So there is some language recognition technology happening behind the scenes. So if you want to activate closed captions without doing all the work of transcribing, Google will take its best shot of
and then you get that
transcribing it.
entire transcription available as a search resource for YouTube. So it's a pretty easy way.
It's a really
to get
good way to tell YouTube what the content of your video is.
And then you get all these great translations as well for anybody who's watching your video. So
expand your reach.
It's kind of a win-win solution.
So use closed captions when you can.
Yeah.
Engagement.
Yes, this is a big one. In fact, this is probably the biggest one. The problem is you basically need to get as many people as you can watching your video. You'll know when you surf YouTube, the popular videos are the popular videos.
That's
so
right.
The more people you can get tweeting about your videos, sharing it on Facebook, liking it, subscriptions as well, all of those little touch points you can get around your video on any platform, YouTube is going to see as very good. So do whatever you can to get people watching your
Another
video.
thing that helps your engagement is embeds. So if you have a website or you have some other places where you can embed your video, that's going to help the SEO of your video content
it's what happens
as well.
outside of the ecosystem of YouTube as much as it is within it as well.
Yeah. So another thing that's great is, I mean, here on this show we don't really do it too often, but encourage people to just like and subscribe. Like, why not, right? There's a reason everybody does it. It's because it works. The other thing is you can ask what's called a call to action at the end of your video, a CTA. So you ask your audience perhaps to answer a question. What is your favorite tip from today? Let us know in the comments down below. That's going to drive engagement as well.
And putting up the cards at the end of your video. This is something that could fall under any one of these categories, but to encourage more people to watch more of your videos, YouTube has cards. Most of you probably know this already. And you can build those cards to link to the next relevant video that you think people might be interested in. So take advantage of it.
The biggest engagement metric is watch time. So if your content is relevant, it's timely, it's good content, that's going to increase your watch time. That's going to drive engagement.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, what do we got here?
Channel page and playlists.
So everybody knows about the video watch page. That's what you guys are watching this on right now. But there's also the channel page. The channel page is where all of your video content is stored. Now, the channel page offers you many abilities to brand your content, brand your page. You can do sort of a header graphic. You can fill in some social media links. You can have some channel description fields to fill in. If you do all of that, if you take advantage of all those features, YouTube's going to recognize that you've filled in all of that potential, all those fields, all of that content space, and they're going to reward you for it. So completing your channel page is a great way to...
and you're going to get more engagement that way too, because people are going to go there and hopefully link off to other videos in your catalog. So
next up, what do we got?
Thumbnails, yes.
The clickbait itself. This is where people usually click, right? On the search is on your thumbnail.
Yeah.
Right? So give them something nice to click on, right?
Yeah, you'll see it yourself. Next time you're on YouTube, go to like your YouTube homepage. You'll see right away which ones appeal to you, and some of them are not going to. So there's a very big discretion between great thumbnails and poor thumbnails. So
I think the biggest
it's worth
tip
spending
here,
a bit of time on it.
Yeah, that's just what I would say is I think the biggest tip here is to actually just spend some time on your thumbnail.
Yeah.
One thing that I've heard is use some nice contrasty colors.
And smiley faces.
You know, the YouTube page itself tends to use the red and white theme. If you use some contrasting colors to that, you're going to stand out more,
That's
right?
true.
Red, white, and black and gray is YouTube. If you go, I don't know, like we use green, right?
Yeah, you can be a little bit garish, and you can get away with being kind of not having. It doesn't have to be the most elegant design. You can be kind of just bold and strong to try to attract eyeballs that way.
The other thing
I think
is,
it works.
remember that many people are viewing your content. Half of people really are viewing content on a mobile device,
Yes.
where a screen is 4 inches big. So whatever you put in that thumbnail, imagine it, you know, postage stamp
postage
size,
stamp,
what
yeah.
it's going to look like. Because once it gets shrunken down, it's not as easy to tell what's in there. So use big, bold text, use big, bold colors, you know, use imagery that is going to be easily recognizable. Next up, what do we got?
Tags.
Tags. Now, tags is interesting because tags is maybe not as important
people
as
kind of,
description.
They don't talk nicely about tags
It's
anymore.
kind of the secret sauce in some ways, though, as well. Like, think of hashtags as a way to file your content.
Yeah.
When you're watching YouTube and you see that right column that has all of the suggested videos,
Yes.
that's kind of where you're going to appear if you use relevant tags, right? So you want to give YouTube the best chance of figuring out what are the 5 categories that are the most relevant categories for this content. And you can use a mix of very specific tags and a couple broader ones, but don't get carried away with the broad tags because you're going to get lost in the wash.
And this is where you said that there is that sweet spot, right? You don't want too many. And
Yeah, I'd say probably 5 to 8 tags max is where you want to aim.
Yeah.
If you're using more than that, you're really just confusing the algorithm. The other thing is, much like with title, there are benefits to front-loading your tags. Now, this is one thing I didn't realize for a long time. You want to make sure you put your most relevant tags right at the beginning of the tag field. The ones that come later, YouTube doesn't value those ones.
I didn't know
as much.
that one. That's
so
a
make
good
sure
one.
you put your tags in the most order of importance.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said, the same with your title. You want to make sure if you've got that killer keyword that you need people to see, if you have a long title, no one's ever going to get to it because titles always get cut off, especially on mobile and places like that.
Actually, while we're on that, just briefly, when it comes to title, I've done some testing, and I think that about 40 to 45 characters is the most that you want in a title. If you go beyond that, your title will get cut off. So no one will be able to see what happens, especially on mobile devices. There's a few less characters available in the screen real estate. So if you want to measure, I'd say 40 to 45 characters is the most, and that includes spaces for your title.
Yeah.
Last, what do we have for the 10th tip? Tools. Okay. So there's a few different tools you can use. Why don't we start with the tool that you brought up first? And this is an engagement driving tool.
Yeah.
What
We've used this tool before. It's called Gleam.io. And Lisa, you can pull up the other layout here and we can see see what it looks like. It's a contest service. And basically it allows you to run a contest and do some kind of a giveaway. So I think we gave away, what did we give away? A webcaster or something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
We gave away a webcaster, and we asked people to enter the contest, go to YouTube and comment on our video. You get more entries for that. You could like the video, you get entries for that. And we had massive engagement, and you get so many more people looking at your videos. And you have to be careful because you don't want a bunch of poor engagement. You don't want to lure people in who are just going to click on it to enter the contest and then leave. So you have to make sure your contest
pairing it with the appropriate content,
with the right audience.
Your messaging has to be correct,
and it's not too long. If you put a 45-minute video, most of those people are not going to watch it, and in fact, it could act negatively.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to get a nice boost in interactivity with your YouTube videos, and so it was good for us. And we also got a ton of subscribers out of it too.
Very cool.
So
yeah, Gleam's a good tool.
Yeah.
Another tool, I'll just show you here. You mentioned this earlier in the episode, but just using the autocomplete suggestions on the YouTube search is actually very powerful. So let's say, for example, we wanted to look at video technology. So let's start typing that. And we see all these other high-performing keywords.
Football. Who knew?
Yeah, right?
Top of the list.
So there's a good way to just get a little bit of extra info. Obviously, there's keyword websites that you can go to. Some are free, some require subscription. Some of them will give you some information about the relevance of certain terms.
Yeah.
But
it also gives you you can research something and find out the likelihood of actually getting decent results. Like if you wanted to score high in the search term of video technology, you search for that and you realize all the top videos have like 1 million views on them.
Yeah.
So maybe you realize, okay, outside of my user base. There's no way I'm going to get that. So you find a sweet spot. Maybe you want to think, maybe I can beat the person who gets 10,000 viewers or something like that. So you can find sort of where the idea you have in mind, figure out what kind of audience you might be able to get for it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is take advantage of what YouTube makes available to you. The search is a very powerful way to find out what...
Search and view count combined, you can do a ton of research.
I'll show you another trick. This is cool. So if you want, you could go, well, let's do a search for video technology and see what some of the top ones are. Now, this is cool. We actually see our video technology
live
at Epiphan.
Do you think that's because
episode.
you're you? And
Well, I think this is because we actually attacked this keyword with a lot of relevance.
Cool.
So especially putting 2018 in the title of video technology is going to help us with our relevance.
That's a cheap SEO trick. Add the current year.
Yeah, put the year. That's a great tip. I'll show you another trick here. I'll just use our video as an example. If you want to find out what keywords someone is using and use that information to your benefit, you can go to a video page, just right-click anywhere on the page in Google Chrome and click Inspect. You're going to see the source code of the page. And then if you go and find and type keyword,
deep dive,
boom, we can see the keywords.
So they're not public, but they're in there. Okay.
Yeah, so it gives you the opportunity to see what keywords people are using. So there's also some tools that you can find. If you just Google it, you'll find some tools that will help you to sort of scrape the keywords.
Like SEMrush and Moz and those things.
That kind of thing.
There's free ones. We use one called SEMrush, and it's a paid service, but it's a massively powerful SEO tool. We could do a whole show on those, but they're kind of a deep dive in their own right.
So let us know what you think. Let us know what your favorite tip is. If you disagree with any of these, please comment below. Give us some of your feedback on what some tips that maybe have worked for you. We'd be certainly interested to hear about it. And anything else you want to add?
Well, I'd be curious to know, we could do this for other platforms too, eh?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like a Facebook SEO?
Yeah, let us know. Like, if you want any tips for Facebook SEO, we would certainly look at that as well. YouTube being the most obvious right now and the most competitive. So getting your SEO right, always important. Make your content rise to the top. And I guess that's it for this week on Live at Epiphan.
Yeah. We'll be here next week at Thursday. In fact, we might be here next week a little early as well for the special announcement. But just keep your eyes on our YouTube page. And like us and subscribe.
Yeah. Leave a comment below.
All of those
subscribe.
Things. Please,
and we'll see you same time next Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, just like every week. Until then, I'm Dan.
And I'm George. See you.
So long.